Hello, my name is Clara Mabour, and I am a science and humanities teacher at Northeast High School in Oakland Park, Florida. And for the purpose of this video, I'll be discussing two questions. First question is, how does Invention Education shape my teaching? And then the second question is, how do I see my students using Invention Education? I'd like to start off by saying that I have not had the traditional introduction to education. So pretty much from the inception of my career as a teacher, I've been utilizing Invention Education because that is what I am familiar with. I'm a student, a product of Invention Education. So I lean back on those skills quite a bit as a teacher. I find Invention Education to be exciting in the classroom. It's definitely engaging. Getting students to utilize skills that they already come into the classroom with and apply them to real world issues it's been such a rewarding experience for me. On the background side, though, as a teacher, there is quite a bit of planning that goes into Invention Education in the classroom and the way you present those lessons. So that background work may include conducting your own background research on local or global issues that you are looking for your students to solve. Some of those skills you may need to brush up on yourself. For instance, if you're having your students solder, great idea to practice soldering before you just release them out to do that, and making sure you're following safety regulations, those kinds of things. But besides that, the lesson planning it involves quite a bit of creativity. It is exciting. Discovering new things yourself about what's going on in the local area, it's exciting. And then you also have to take on a cross-curricular approach to lesson planning. Even if you're teaching a content-specific class, for instance, I teach biology, and we have a pretty strict curriculum map that we have to follow in order to prepare students for our state assessment. But there's room there to still embed little bits of Invention Education in there. For instance, my students learn about the parts of the flower, and then I have them invent a flower themselves. So they have to understand how the flower works and what the different parts do, and then they take that and expand it and include their imagination to work on that. And that is not something that's necessarily on the curriculum map, but we can embed many different standards into that lesson itself so that they get the skills they need, as well as they get the enrichment from the Invention Education aspect that they can carry on to their other classes and problem solving in different content or based on different content as well. The other part of Invention Education that is quite important when teaching is taking on the role of a facilitator more than the content giver. So I may start a lesson with a problem, and then I step back and I let the students engage with the issue and think about different ideas, and then they do their own background research, and then they research the different skills that they may need as well. And I'm there to ask questions, I'm there to push their buttons, to play devil's advocate, and then I also, of course, will provide some skills or content when needed as well. And definitely allowing students to have those moments of struggle is where the beauty of Invention Education comes from, because you need that friction to really grow in any field of life, but really when solving problems and becoming a pure independent learner, you need that friction so you know that you can overcome these issues that you may encounter. And I don't let students struggle forever. That is cruel. So I do provide help when needed as well. And the other part of Invention Education that I really enjoy is the role-playing aspect of Invention Education. So some students come into, no matter what the content class is, they come into the class not believing that they're capable of performing certain skills or understanding certain content. But the truth of the matter is that they're very much so capable. And the way to bypass that is to do activities where they're playing different roles. So maybe they're the scientist, the researcher, the builder, the designer. Maybe they're the speaker, the marketer, the entrepreneur for this issue that they're solving in the classroom. And that helps build the confidence they need to accomplish these tasks. And it also allows them to do so in a way that they are comfortable with. And then once they get a little bit of comfort in that, that's when you start throwing in those challenges and pushing them to think beyond what they already know. One of the most profound ways that I see students using invention education is when they take on that cross-curricular approach to all their classes. So I'm pretty sure all teachers have heard this quote before from students: when will I ever use this in life? So once you start having students working on real world issues and they're applying these content skills, especially math, right? The like algebra and geometry, they can get pretty abstract for students. But when they don't realize that they're actually using those skills to solve these problems, and they're just performing these skills without that pressure of knowing that this is algebra or knowing that this is geometry, they get this free will and they start taking off. They're designing using geometry skills. They're calculating distance, velocity, and all of these other things using basic algebra skills that they would normally be bogged down by in the classroom. So it gives them a concrete, tangible thing to work on and to apply these skills to, and they use it in that way. And then I also see students taking on these ideas or the process of invention education and applying it to different subjects, and I get really excited seeing that. So when they go to their English class or they go to another science class or math class and they're excited by an issue that they just learned that's related to that subject, and then they want to develop something to solve that issue, they just take off. It just allows them to take off. And really, invention education provides them this versatile toolbox that they can apply to all things in their life. And I have students come back and they may not have had my class in like a year or two, but they come back and want to show me an invention that they've been working on at home, just the side projects that they're excited about. And they develop this confidence as an inventor or as a creator, a maker, that just sparks something in them. I've even had students who were not previously interested in a STEM field, later on interested in STEM just because of the ability to make things. I also have students who are interested in arts who make things as well, and they're able to apply their talents and skills to projects that we do in class or outside of class and after school programs to accomplish creating a product. And really, invention education for the students provides this holistic educational experience that they may get eventually, but in the primary and secondary levels, really it's so segmented that sometimes they're not able to bridge that gap. But invention education allows them to bridge that gap between the different subjects that they're learning. And then lastly is this idea of entrepreneurship. The natural progression of invention education, so after they produce this product, this prototype that they're excited about, and it works, they want to know how to get that on the market. And for me as a teacher, that is something that I'm looking to develop so that I can better help my students with, is that entrepreneurial aspect of invention education, or just inventions in general. So students will learn about the patent process, and with that they get a better understanding of intellectual property rights, and then that obviously sparks, okay, intellectual property, I get to protect what I know. What do I do with what I know? I want to sell it to people. I want to share it with others. And something else that they are interested in is the open source nature of invention or technology, really. And that's something that I want to learn more about so I can help my students in this progression with invention education as well.